Did you know the last ping from Kylie Rodni's phone was 50 feet from where the vehicle was found? Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. One of the best ways to approach any new investigation is through the guidance of statistical probability. Statistics shouldn't be applied as gospel, but merely the logical jumping off point. There is a culture around the idea of statistics that they're misleading, which I think comes from economics, but more precisely politics. That's usually not relevant in criminal investigations and searches like this. So I think the culture around statistics, a subject I studied briefly at university, needs to change. I also feel it's time we did some rumor control as we await the forensic reports. Let's start with rumor control. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Thank you to the hundreds of you who have subscribed, and let's get started. So in terms of rumor control, Adventures with Purpose have been hailed as heroes in the search for Kylie Rodni because they were able to find her after searching for just 35 minutes. While the dive team deserve our thanks, the reality is that they spent the whole of Saturday. Remember, they found her at about 2:48 p.m. on Sunday, but they spent the whole of Saturday, the day prior, searching and excluding other bodies of water besides Prosser Creek Reservoir. According to the New York Post, quote, AWP diver Doug Bishop, 39, said his team already cleared everything in Truckee, including all the little ponds, based on confidential information we received in regards to her disappearance. That was on Saturday. The Post goes on to note, quote, the 6 divers in the AWP crew first spent 4 hours imaging the surface of the reservoir in 2 inflatable boats kitted out with sonar to get a better sense of what they were up against. The team also surveyed the reservoir from a hot air balloon, end quote. And so I think just an hour or two ago, the first footage of AWP's hot air balloon trip over the reservoir has been put up. I'll put a link to that, but I also want to show you where they look in on the exact site. This was before they knew where it was, where you can't actually see the vehicle even though it is there. But the point to make is that clearly the search of the lake didn't just take 35 minutes. They spent much of the morning going into the afternoon simply gathering information and making observations. According to the New York Post, quote, the team had been assured by law enforcement on the ground that the body of water had already been searched thoroughly, but decided to check again. According to Josh Cantu, police told us they did a rigorous search of this body of water. They gave us a grid map and made us confident we didn't need to search here, end quote. Now, what is true is that once the search proper commenced, and that, as I understand it, once they had a dive in the water, that search took only 35 minutes. But that doesn't diminish the achievement. It's just important not to make the discovery sound either easier than it was or harder. One more thing. If it seems mysterious that the vehicle was found 55 feet from shore, and bear in mind the shoreline would have advanced a few additional feet due to the reservoir level dropping 4 feet in 2 weeks, according to AWP, it's not that strange. According to Nick Rinn, 48 years old, from AWP, he said, when a vehicle goes into the water, it has air trapped in it for a while, so it will float for a little ways before it fills with water and sinks, end quote. Now, bear in mind, its tires are also inflated, and so there's flotation that is there anyway, certainly in the 4 tires. So the distance offshore isn't suspicious as much as it's an indicator for how slow or fast Kylie was going. It's hard to imagine she was going very fast on such rough roads, but equally she wasn't going so slow that she could stop in time before the road tilted down sharply and she hit the water. Here's the essential bit of information though. Her phone last pinged at 12:33 a.m., about 50 feet from where the car and body were found. That's according to private investigator Stephen Fisher, who'd been voluntarily searching for the missing teen. Now, if you knew nothing about this case, if you didn't know there was a party, didn't know there were 300 kids, if you didn't know whether KIELY was intoxicated or not, if you hadn't read Lord of the Flies, if you didn't even know the kind of color of the car that she was driving, this statistic alone ought to have been sufficient. I mean, look at this headline. Last cell phone ping places KIELY Rodney at Lake Edge as teen remains missing 10 days on. And then, was the subsequent headline any surprise? KIELY Rodney case, body found in California reservoir, is that of missing teen. The first step law enforcement made in the wrong direction was to assume the last ping, the last statistic, wasn't accurate. It was accurate to within 55 feet of the vehicle. And this is quoting what was said during a press conference by SF Gate. Captain Brown said the last ping was near Prosser Lake, a man-made reservoir that surrounds the campground, but it's possible due to lost data that the phone continued to ping after 12:30 a.m. The ping for the data points was near the water. It's hard to tell an exact pinpoint, Brown said, just as much on land as it was on water. He went on to say, just because it last pinged there doesn't mean that's where the phone stopped pinging. There's lots of reasons why those notifications or data points could be lost. Let's listen to that again.
Just because it was last pinged there, that doesn't mean that that's where the phone stopped being there.
Well, it turned out it did. That last ping was by far the best clue. Even saying the ping was as much on land as it was on water was like a huge cheerleader jumping up and down with pom-poms shouting, "Over here! Over here!" And that brings us to the next section, stats don't lie. So I want to repeat what I said earlier. One of the best ways to approach any new investigation is through the guidance of statistical probability. Statistics shouldn't be applied as gospel, but merely the logical jumping off point. It's where you start from. There's a culture around the idea of statistics that they're misleading, which comes from economics. It's not relevant in criminal investigations. Obviously, a ping at the water's edge, 50 feet from where the vehicle went missing, when the vehicle was found 55 feet from shore, is a ping that needed to be trusted, a statistic that needed to be appreciated. But let's think about statistics in a more general sense, as a way to guide, to assist, to steer human processing in the right direction. According to the CDC, motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for U.S. teens. The 5 leading causes of death for teenagers are, number 1, unintentional accidents, 2, homicide, 3, suicide, 4, cancer, 5, heart disease. Right now, there's a split in the true crime community, including on this channel, with around half believing what happened to KIELY being an accident, and the other half imagining foul play had to have been involved. Stats show motor vehicle fatalities the leading cause of death to teenagers. Accidents account for nearly 1/2 of all teenage deaths, according to the CDC. If accidents account for 48% of teenage deaths and homicide around 1/4 of that number at 13%, then it's already clear that an accident in this case, statistically speaking, is around 4 times more likely. If you asked a computer to run a statistical review of the case simply based on KIELY's age, even if you left out where she was and what she was doing when she disappeared, which happened to be driving late at night, intoxicated in the dark, it would still come up with motor vehicle traffic accident. If you added that the last ping was basically on a roadway leading into water, and that circumstantially KIELY appeared to be in a vehicle, driving a vehicle, and intoxicated, the odds of motor accident go up beyond 90%. It's only human beings who think irrationally and emotionally, who, given these basic parameters, will somehow prefer to think of sex trafficking and abductions. It's in the news constantly and is part of the stock and trade of conspiracy nuts. But it's not logical. Boring statistics aren't as exciting as a conspiracy theory. That is why the culture around statistics as reliable and effective signposts for our thinking ought to be restored. The culture has to change, but it won't as long as reporting on YouTube and other social media is sensation and emotion first, and facts and logic second. Many in the true crime community are now awaiting the autopsy and investigative reports. These are necessarily forensic reports filled with forensic evidence. Incidentally, did you know the word forensic refers to the application of scientific methods to the investigation of a crime? Forensic evidence is another way of saying scientific evidence. Science and the law go hand in hand. And statistical analysis is a scientific approach as well. Science is sadly lacking in the approach to missing persons and to true crime in general, hence the need for true crime rocket science. Conclusion. Do you think it's true to say YouTubers found KIELY? Technically, I think it's true, but AWP are YouTubers with specialized knowledge who use scientific equipment and know how to read the scientific data they're seeing. They also asked LE, that's law enforcement, for their data, which included scientific data, the last ping. In the same way that AWP succeeded where law enforcement failed, we need to spend more time excluding possibilities and applying specialized experience allied with a track record and experience to develop a gut feel, rather than develop a gut feel first, unscientifically, and from there try to find supporting evidence. Does that make sense? From the search pattern of AWP, it does actually feel like they searched from the ping site very late in their search. It was really at sort of a day and a half into their search. That wasn't the first place they searched for. The cops developed a gut feel there was a sex offender and then tried to find supporting evidence. I would say AWP YouTubers helped the search for KIELY, but how many others hindered the search for her? So I'm not going to take it further than that. There is someone who has recorded footage of the drive right up to the edge of the water. I'm hoping to have her on a live this later today, so look out for that. No promises, but we'll see if we can get her on. And so thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.